Hello and welcome. As we continue season 4 of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kelby Bachman. We'll just jump right into it. Please give it up for the next guest on the show, Kaleb Young. So Kaleb is from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, home of the world-famous groundhog, Punxsutawney Phil. But Kaleb is a close second, though. He was a 3-time place winner for the Chucks, placing 5th and 4th before becoming the school's first ever state champion. Kaleb went on to become an Iowa Hawkeye and turned in a heck of a career. He was a Big Ten finalist, 4-time NCAA qualifier, and 3-time All-American. He's still hanging around Iowa City. Kaleb is actually finishing his PhD in civil and environmental engineering while also involved with the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy Kaleb Young. In the heart of West Union, Iowa, lies a hidden gem in Euphoria Coffee. Owned by local residents Nicole and Shane Havenstreit, they source everything they can from local vendors. From hot and iced drinks, to savory breakfast burritos, to baked goods, to botany tea, and even homemade waffles, Euphoria Coffee is a place your entire family can enjoy. You can find more information at drinkeuphoria.coffee2go.com or visit their Facebook page. And we also have a special gift just for you. Next time you stop in, you can get a free baked good with a $20 purchase. Just mention the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Euphoria Coffee. Our purpose is deeper than coffee. What are you up to in life?
So right now I'm wrestling wise, I'm in the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, so just not competing, but I train with the guys, more mentor role. I'm also finishing a PhD, so I'm gonna walk in May, but I'm not actually, I won't be done in May. I'll defend my dissertation sometime June or July. I have to defend by July 22nd, so I'll be done by July 22nd, but I don't have a date scheduled yet.
Wow. Did you imagine you were going to be going to school this long?
Yeah, this is my 9th year of college, so I'm ready to be done.
9th year. Did you set out when you first got to college? Were you like, yeah, I want to get a PhD? Or did this just sort of happen?
I originally thought that I wanted to go to med school, so I kind of was planning on going to college for a long time, but
Okay.
And then I did human physiology undergrad, and it wasn't like I kind of lost the interest because coming out of high school, you don't have that much experience, so you don't know what you want to do. So I picked something that one of my friends' dads that I looked up to was a doctor, so I was like, maybe I'll be a doctor. And then decided that I didn't want to be a doctor anymore. I actually tried. So my PhD work is in water resources engineering. So I tried to switch to engineering in undergrad, but I couldn't because of there's NCAA. You have to have a certain percentage of your degree done to be eligible. And if I would have switched majors, I wouldn't have been had 70% of my degree completed by whatever time, so I wouldn't have been eligible to wrestle, so I just finished human physiology.
Well, that kind of stinks.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah. So now you're doing water resources?
Yeah,
and
so
engineering?
It's civil and environmental engineering.
Wow. How'd you get into that?
I like outdoor stuff and interest in the environment, and I was kind of shocked. I had an extra year of eligibility because of COVID, so I was kind of shopping around because I was done with my undergrad, and it piqued my interest, and then I applied and got accepted, and then I was gonna do so there's master's program. It's like thesis based or non-thesis. So you're either doing research based master's degree or like just schoolwork. And I was going to do just schoolwork. And then one of my professors, who's actually my advisor now, my first semester, um, I asked him how I could get more involved to get more hands-on experience, and he told me to do a thesis. So I did a thesis with him for my master's degree, and then he asked me if I wanted to stay, and I really liked it. And then he asked if I wanted to stay and do a PhD, and so here I am.
Wow. I guess, yeah, here you are. So does that mean you're going to be Dr. Young in July?
Yeah, technically, but Doctor of Engineering.
All right. There you go. What do you, I guess, what is the ultimate goal then? Have you thought that far? Like, what are you going to do?
So I'll probably be a water resources engineer or like a hydrologist. I do like flood stuff, and hydrologic modeling. So I use a model that the National Weather Service uses for like, I don't know, you get like flood warnings on your phone from the weather service, or like in Iowa, you get hurricane or not hurricane, tornado warnings and stuff. It's like the same idea. The weather service has a model for stream flow throughout the US, and they can give flood warnings based on that. So I use like, I'm working on something with that model.
Hmm. What made you interested in that? Sorry, I know this, like, where's wrestling, but I'm just curious where this, I did not expect that this is what your PhD was going to be in. So now I'm just kind of curious how you landed here in the first place.
Kind of just by fate, I guess. I got an extra year of eligibility.
Hmm.
I it wasn't something that I knew I would be interested in until I started doing it, and then I saw it's something that I think is important now, and it kind of like something that a lot of people don't really think about, and then now it's something that I think about every single day.
Yeah.
It's it's like water is like it's very it's complicated because there's a lot of it, like life on Earth is based on water, like having access to water. So humans, plants, and animals. So, and we use it to move stuff, to grow things, so it's important. And not a lot of people think about where their water comes from, maybe, but
True. Yeah. I mean, the only time I really think about water is when I go to the store and I see purified water or non-purified water or spring water, I guess, and which one should I buy? Which one's better? And I never know. So I just get whatever one I feel like that day. That's
fair.
like the only time I think about it.
Yeah, that's funny. I don't do water quality as much as I do like quantity. So I do more of how much there is rather than
Okay.
in what state it is.
Yeah. Okay. How much there is? Okay. Yeah, because what, like 90, is it like 93% or 92% of the earth is like water?
Yeah, pretty high percent. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of like, so I do like, my work is focusing on like the interactions between, the rain falls on Iowa, so I focus specifically on Iowa, but and like agricultural areas. But the rain falls on the land surface, and then what happens to it? Is it stored in ponds? Is it stored in the ground? Does it go straight to the rivers? And then, what's the consequences of this if it's stored, or if it goes straight into the river? Then you have issues with flooding if all the water is just going right into the river. So,
Hmm. How much do you deal with snow? Because like I've learned over the past couple of years how important actually snow is during the winter. Because it moisturizes or whatever that's the word you want to use. The ground, all right, and then it also protects the ground. It like protects it from like the wind if it's really windy. it dries things out, but if you have snow, that kind of protects the land as well. So like snow is kind of important as well. Like it has other things other than being just a nuisance. Do you do much with snow?
Um, so I don't think about snow that much, but snow is especially like out west, a lot of like water availability out west is dependent on snowpack in the mountains because um, places like the Sierra Nevada where in California where it snows, 6 feet of snow a year, and then that snow melts throughout the spring and early summer, and they're dependent on that snow water for um, agriculture for I can't think of the word right now for some reason, but water to grow plants and plants,
For sure.
but then also drinking water. Here it's kind of like there can be, I don't know if you remember in 2019, um, when it flooded in the Missouri River,
Yeah.
there was a big flood in the Missouri River, and a lot of
Yeah.
that was rain on frozen ground. So when it rains and the ground's frozen, it doesn't soak in like a sponge; it just runs right off. And then also if um, like a river's frozen and then the ice starts to break up, it can cause like ice jams that can back up and also cause flooding. So, I mean, maybe not this. I mean, snow is definitely like something that's considered in hydrology and flood modeling, but um, I don't focus on it that much. It's the model that I run includes snow and snow melt, but we don't get like if we got 5 feet of snow every year in Iowa, I'd probably think about it a lot more.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. I guess I think we had a really dry winter a couple years ago or a few years ago. And I think I was talking to some golf courses. I was writing a paper or something about golf courses and how they were struggling to keep their green and their golf courses like, watered and green because they had no snow in that winter to, basically moisture the grounds and nothing to protect the grounds from sunlight and wind and things. So because we didn't get snow, it kind of, like I said, it has a different purpose other than just being a pain. So I didn't that yeah. Anyway, found that interesting, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Um anyway, okay, cool. Moving to I guess wrestling, I should say. So you wrestled a little bit. When did you, I guess, start wrestling, Caleb? Do you remember?
I started when I was like 4 or 5. So I've got a
Really?
brother that's 5 years older than me, and he wrestled. My dad was the coach of our like local high school. So like I was around wrestling from the time I was born pretty much, and then started wrestling at like probably 4 or 5, like actually going to tournaments, I think.
Yeah. Did you like it right away?
I actually quit at one point when I was really young. So when I was, I don't know, 3 or 4, I quit because I said wall sits hurt my back. So, and then I eventually came back.
Well, why did you come back?
I mean, it was like a very short term quit, probably
Yeah.
a week or two.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it though? Like, were you having a good time when you were younger and you enjoyed going to tournaments and things, or were you kind of resistant at first?
No, I mean, I think I liked wrestling right away. Um, something being a little boy and just, wrestling is pretty human, like human nature where, you gravitate to it. You're a little boy and you like just, scrapping it out kind of. I think part of it too was I feel like I had success when I was young at, local tournaments and, what's having success at things is fun. So what's not to enjoy?
Yeah. So you must have, sounds like you had success then right away or some level of success.
Yeah, I mean, some level of success. I don't think I was a world beater or anything. But I'm from a rural area of Pennsylvania where There was a bunch of youth tournaments just like there are in Iowa, and go to the tournaments at the local high schools. And yeah, I mean, I think going there and winning some matches gives you some confidence, and you have fun winning, and just eggs you right along.
Yeah. Did you try other sports too as you were growing up?
Yeah, I played soccer and football for like most of my childhood. I quit playing football after ninth grade. So
Mhm.
I played soccer and football most of the time. And then after ninth grade, I just only wrestled.
Did you run cross country? Because I think your mom was a good cross country runner, wasn't she?
Yeah, so my mom is a runner. My mom ran cross country in college, but she went back to college to Penn State Du Bois, so like branch campus of Penn State. She ran
Hmm.
um, cross country there, but she went back to college when she was like 30. So she ran and did college when I was, I don't know
Wow.
how old I was, 5, 6, 7, 8 maybe.
Hmm. So
But I
that
didn't run. I didn't
gene
run.
didn't get passed
She
down to you?
ran.
No.
She ran, and
Okay.
she runs all the time, but I don't run. I mean, I run to
Yeah.
exercise, but I don't run competitively.
Well, that was cool. Why did she choose to go back when she was like 30? That's kind of cool,
Um,
like I was 32 when I graduated college,
yeah.
so
So my mom got married like the same month she graduated high school because my dad's 3 years older than my mom, and he was in the Marine Corps. So she got married and
gotcha.
then moved to California, Oceanside, California, when she was 18. So
Gotcha. Dang, okay. And then what made her decide to go back to school or to go to school, I guess at that point.
um, I think
And to
that
run, not only go to school, but she was doing a sport too. But I'm just like, wow. And she had kids. Dang.
yeah, I don't know. She's she works hard. She already ran, so she has been a runner my entire life. Um, and I think so. My grandma owns a restaurant in Pennsylvania, like 6 miles away from my parents' house. My mom worked at the restaurant and as a waitress, and she worked at the local YMCA and taught like workout classes. I think she decided that she wanted to do something different with her life than wait tables. And so she went back to school and she did an associate's degree, and she's a physical therapy assistant now and has been since then.
Nice. Well, good for her. I mean, like I said, because how many do you have any other siblings besides your one older brother?
Nope, just me and my older brother.
Yeah, so she went to school, when she was 30 after having two kids and she was running competitively. Dang.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's an All-American.
Um,
I don't know what division
so
Penn State Du Bois competes in, but whatever division they're in, she's an All-American.
oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so you're not the only All-American in the family.
I'm not.
Um, that's cool. Good for her. So you quit football, you said in ninth grade. Is that when you started to really take over wrestling, or wrestling became kind of a big part of your life then?
Yeah, I mean, I wrestled like at summer tournaments um, when I was young through elementary school and middle school. And then after seventh grade, I started to go to Young Guns. So Young Guns is wrestling club, Western Pennsylvania, and Jody Strip Matter. Um, I started to go to Young Guns seventh grade. Um, I won like my first state title in eighth grade after having been going to Young Guns for like a year. I had never won the like youth state tournament in Pennsylvania. I won in eighth grade, And then I played football again in 9th grade, and then I just focused on wrestling from there on out.
Yeah, how far was Young Guns from you?
I went to Murraysville to Franklin Regional High School, so where Kemmer and Spencer Lee went to high school, it was probably like an hour and a half drive.
One way?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
so
who would
I mean, a lot of credit to my dad there because my dad drove me to Young Guns practices all the time.
Wow, how many times do you go? Twice a week or 3 times a week?
Yeah, 2 or 3 times a week. And then also like the my friend that I wrestled in high school with, his dad also. So I went, me and my friend went, and then so his dad drove us as well. Sometimes they switch back and forth.
Was that all year round or was that like after high school season? Were you doing those workouts or going there also during high school season?
Yeah, I would go to Young Guns practices like once or twice a week during the high school season. It's good.
Wow.
I had a lot of good partners there, so it's hard not to go.
Yeah, but did you ever get like burnt out or, feeling like, gosh, this is kind of taking over my life? Because at that point, you're kind of making friends, you're starting to do things on your own, you're becoming a little more independent, especially when you're 15, 16, 17, 18. Like, did it ever become maybe a little bit more of a, I don't want to call it a burden, but kind of, you know?
I don't think so. I never like felt burnt out. Like I always like I loved my friends that I wrestled with. My best friends were at wrestling practice, so um, I wasn't being pressured to go to practice by any means. There
Mhm.
was like wasn't like my dad was forcing me to go to practice. Um, so I don't feel like I was ever getting burnt out. Um, you know, I loved going to wrestling practice and competing, and um, there was no external forces pushing me in that direction. It was me making that choice. So um, there wasn't any burnout, I don't think, or I was never getting over it. And there were some times I feel like where I missed out on things because I was wrestling at something during the summer, and those were sacrifices that I was willing to make. So it didn't weigh on me at all. I don't regret it one bit.
Yeah. What about just like some fatigue? Maybe not burnout from wrestling, but just like, gosh, I got school, I'm still a high school kid. I've been at school all day. I just had wrestling practice. Now I got to go to Young Guns. Like, was there ever times where you were just like, can I just not go tonight because I'm just tired. Can I just not today?
I think I mean, there's like a level of fatigue, but I would sleep on the way there and sleep on the way home. My dad would drive, and I would just sleep
Okay,
in the
fair enough.
passenger seat the whole way there and the whole way back, pretty much.
Fair enough. Okay. Was it hard to balance then school at that same time? You know, yeah, you're going there twice a week, maybe sometimes 3 times a week. Homework, you're getting done late. You still got whatever class homework you got to do. Like, was that ever an issue?
I feel like most of the time I was able to get homework done during study halls at school. If I still
Uh,
had homework, if I still
True.
had stuff that needed done, I would do it in the car. Um, you know, I don't know. I don't, I like, I don't know, had pretty good success and grades in school throughout high school. I don't think that homework was something that ever burdened me too much. I had good friends around me that we'd do homework together during study halls and knock it out, and then I'd have time to go to wrestling practice.
Cool. Okay. What about, was there ever a time where you faced some adversity where you maybe didn't think you were seeing the success on the mat. So, I guess let me rephrase the question and ask, like, were there ever moments where you wondered if it was all worth it? Because maybe you didn't get that big victory that you were looking for, or you didn't win that state title yet, like you got fifth as a sophomore, fourth as a junior. So I didn't know if there were times you're like, man, I'm doing all this extra and I'm still seeing the ultimate result that I was thinking I should get.
I don't know. I don't know if I ever felt that way. I think I had confidence issues at points in high school where I wasn't going out and wrestling to the best of my ability just because of, I don't know, maybe like a loss or just a poor performance weighing on me. Um, but I had really good mentors. Like John Strittmatter was someone, so Jody's brother John is someone that really good at mental imagery and like mental toughness coaching, and he's someone that's you know uh, good to talk to and can kind of push you past um, you know road bumps maybe. Um, I don't think I was ever down in the dumps enough where I thought, is this is this worth it? Um, just trying to have like a short memory. I think wrestling. There's a lot of heartbreak in wrestling. There are a few people that uh, you know, win everything. I mean, there's been a couple people that have won pretty much everything, but you can count them on your both hands, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of people that have experienced a lot of heartbreak in wrestling, but you know, I don't know. It's just what are your goals, So, um, and also like your like self-image. So, if you're not putting your whole worth in your wrestling performance, then I think it's not uh like I don't place all my value in how I do on the mat. So, then if I lose a match, um that doesn't, you know, kill my self-image. So,
Yeah, was that something you learned, or did you know that right away to not put that much value, or was that something that you learned over time at a certain point? I feel like when we're younger and as we're growing up, maybe I'll speak for myself. I put a lot of my wins and losses, like I put a lot of value in that, too much value in whether or not I won or lost. Um, Obviously now I'm older. I understand that was wasted energy. So I just didn't know if that was something that you learned at a specific point, or if you always had that awareness that your value wasn't tied to how well you were performing on the mat.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't like to lose by any means. Oh darn, I lost. So I'm not like that by any means, but also, I mean, I was a terrible loser when I was little. I would blame it on anybody else except myself. It was always the ref's fault or, somebody
Mhm.
else's fault. So there were plenty of times when I was in elementary school or middle school where I threw my wrestling shoes away after I lost and blamed everybody but myself. But, I think like growing up, like my dad was never hard on me. So like, now is like I helped Marinelli a little bit with his club and I've been to some like youth tournaments and like you see how some of the parents like treat their 7, 8, 9, 10-year olds, and it's insane. And my dad was never like hard on me, so I think that really kind of helps with that because it was me beating myself up, but it wasn't he wasn't piling on too. So, I'm sure I
Mhm.
watched I would coach at the USA state tournament in Cedar Rapids and I saw a lot of parents, piling on to their kids and I think those are the kids that probably burn out, when losing
Yeah.
sucks to begin with and then if your parents being a jerk about it too, then that probably doesn't help. But my dad was always supportive, and my mom was always supportive, where I didn't feel like I was never looking over to the wall during practice to see if my dad was watching me and make sure he was like satisfied with how I was doing, where it was I was just focused on wrestling and getting better. And so I think that's definitely part of it where um, you know, I didn't have the added pressure of my parent gonna ream me after losing growing up. So then I kind of, learned to deal with it on my own, and
Mm-hmm.
handle losses and shortcomings, because it was just handling my own emotions and my own feelings about it and not having to deal with my own emotions, and then plus the, you know, backlash of losing coming from family members, because that didn't happen.
When did you start to talk to yourself a little more positively? It sounds like there were some times there where you were the one that was hard on yourself. Was there some time or a period where you remember where you started to reverse that a little bit and start to be a little, a little more nicer to yourself, essentially?
Probably with young guns, John and Jody are great coaches. They're great wrestling coaches and technicians, but they're also great mindset coaches. So, probably had a lot to do with going there. Um, there's been a lot of really good wrestlers that come out of young guns, especially when I was there. I worked out with, Kemmer and Spencer and Max Murin, who were all my teammates at Iowa, but also, when I started going to young guns, like Jimmy Golovan was in the room, and I practiced a lot with, Nolf and Vincenzo Joseph, bunch of really good guys. So Cam Coy, who was from Penn Trafford, one of my partners there, he was really good. There were a bunch of really good, um, wrestlers there, and that gives you confidence too, I guess, in high school, because I was working out the guys that were the best guys in the country, and in Spencer's case, one of the best guys in the world. So you know, confidence there, and then John and Jody being really positive, and great coaches beyond just technical wrestling skills, but mindset coaches and dealing with wins and losses the right way. Yeah, I think that kind of coaching beyond wrestling skills is what really helps guys get to the next level.
Yeah, you just listed some really, really good wrestlers. Was there a point where, you or somebody looked in that room and went like, there are some really good wrestlers in here, like really good wrestlers. Did anyone ever take a step back and just look in the room and say that, or did you ever notice that where you're like, geez, I think I'm wrestling with some greatness right now?
Yeah, I think we knew. We had some really good results at dual tournaments during the summers. We would wrestle Blair. Blair would bring a team to this freestyle dual tournament every year, and we'd wrestle them in the finals most of the time. And we'd have pretty good results against Blair, who was one of the best high school teams in the country. And we'd go wrestle at NHSCA duels and Disney duels and have really good results. So I think we knew that we had a special thing going.
Yeah, yeah. Um, when you finally, I want to ask, like I said, you got fifth as a sophomore, fourth as a junior. How satisfying, was it that senior year to finally capture that elusive state title? Like we kind of talked about, or I kind of asked you earlier about not quite seeing the results and putting in all the work, but not seeing the results. Like, was that pretty amazing, feeling to finally get to the top, that what you were searching for all along?
Yeah. It felt like a weight off my shoulders, I think, because I was putting pressure on myself where to perform. Um, but you know, it for sure felt not. It was pretty cool winning a state title, but I think I was already thinking, past that, where I was thinking about college and performing there and getting to Iowa, where winning the state title was cool. But I had been around, like, all my practice partners were pretty much state champs, so it didn't feel that special. But I mean, it was big at the time. I was the only state champ ever from my high school until last year. We have a girl state champ. So JL Miller is
There we
state
go.
champ from two-time state champ from Punxsutawney. So she's won twice as many titles as I have. So yeah, I mean, it was big at the time, but I was thinking into the future.
Yeah, so did you not really take a second to soak it in because you were already looking ahead, Did it just not really sink in like, oh man, I just won a state title, like I won a Pennsylvania state title. This is awesome. I'm proud. Oh, good job, Caleb. Or, it sounds like you were just like, cool, okay, check the box, moving on.
I don't know. It was cool. I mean, let it soak in, but there was there was a lot of stuff yet still to go after. I don't know. It was pretty satisfying. I had a pretty good senior year. Won the Super 32 before season, and then had some good results throughout the season. So satisfying, but
Yeah.
So Kemmer was one of my best friends from throughout high school, and he was at Iowa, so I was ready to get out and start wrestling with him.
Yeah. When did Iowa become, come into the picture then? Or how about when did recruiting come into the picture? Like, were you starting to get letters and phone call and all that stuff when you were a junior and you had a fourth place finish?
Yeah, so coaches can contact kids earlier now. I think high school guys earlier now.
Yeah.
I think when I was in high school, it was like September 1st or August something of junior year. So I got some phone calls and some letters. I had been to Iowa a couple times with
Really?
Jody and John. I came to the Penn State Iowa match like my freshman and sophomore years, I think. Both matches where when Ramos pinned Gulliban and then the other one he pinned Conaway. So I was at both of those dual meets in Carver. So I had been out to Iowa a couple times. I think I came some other port maybe when I was like a sophomore just during the summer and came out and wrestled with like Happel. Just coming with Jody and seeing campus and seeing Iowa City. We went to a football game, I think. So I was like familiar with Iowa and familiar with like the team and the coaching staff pretty early in high school, and then I actually went to Young Guns practice the first night that I get called, and I remember I got called by Morningstar on the way home from practice, so later at night, and yeah, didn't take long to convince me.
Really? So was there really anything else anyone else in the picture?
Yeah, like I liked other schools. I wasn't like a huge college wrestling fan growing up. Like my parents never really watched college wrestling when I was growing up. I think we'd watch the NCAA finals some years, but like I didn't really watch college wrestling until I was probably in high school. So I wasn't a huge fan of any schools growing up. And then I became an Iowa fan because of Jody. So yeah, I don't know. I was a fan of Iowa because of Jody. Had been out here a few times, seen the environment, seen big dual meets in Carver, and I was pretty sold right away. I don't know. I guess I was an Oklahoma State fan at one point because I opened a letter. So we wrote letters to ourselves in like 8th grade that we opened when we were seniors in high school, and mine said something about hopefully you're going to Oklahoma State to wrestle, which I didn't remember writing that, so it's pretty funny.
Um, so when did you start thinking about, it sounds like eighth grade or so, if you were very much engulfed in the college wrestling scene, when did you start thinking about even wrestling or competing at the next level?
I mean, we had um, young guns camps during the summer. We'd have college coaches come. So,
Yeah.
um, like I like thought that like I knew college wrestling existed, and I um, like wanted to go wrestle at college and wanted to wrestle at the highest level, but I just didn't really watch dual meets or anything ever.
Gotcha.
I had the only college wrestling dual meets I had been to before I went to like the Penn State Iowa matches were Clarion dual meets because I lived like 20 miles from Clarion, and there was a guy from Punxsutawney that wrestled at Clarion that was my dad had coached. So before I had gone to any Penn State Iowa dual meets, the only college wrestling matches I had ever been to were Clarion dual meets.
Huh. Cool. I mean, D1.
Yeah.
I mean, hey.
Yeah, so
Um,
I went to Clarion camps growing up, and Teague Moore was the coach there at the time. So like summer camps through elementary school, middle school, I went to Clarion camps, and Teague Moore was the coach there. And Teague Moore is a really good wrestler, even if Clarion wasn't having the best results.
yeah. Yeah. So, um, were they ever in the picture maybe a little bit just
No,
because
I don't think so.
they're
No, I don't think I wanted to like. I've been to the town of Clarion a lot. Our district tournament was there, so I had watched my brother wrestle at Clarion, and I had wrestled at Clarion for uh, a number of years, and I don't they weren't ever in the picture, not because
yeah.
just because I was looking at like some of the top schools at the time, trying to surround myself with you know other guys that were wrestling at really high level. And not that
Yeah.
Clarion guys aren't wrestling at a really high level, but Iowa, Penn State, Oklahoma State, like schools that are having the best results. That's kind of where, like, why wouldn't you want to go wrestle at Iowa?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, of course. I didn't know if just that since it was more local, if that had a pull to you, nostalgia, it was close, stuff like that. Sometimes that has people enticed, it's right down the road from your parents, things like that, family, but um did you and like any of the other Young Guns guys discuss about going to Iowa, or did you all kind of come to the decision on your own? Because you listed quite a few guys who went to Iowa and we're all at the Young Guns.
Yeah. So I remember I actually committed to Iowa before Kemmer did. So I committed my junior year, which is pretty early. Like, like when I was getting recruited and when I was in high school, most guys committed like senior year because you couldn't take official visits till you were a senior. So Kemmer was going through like his official visits, and I committed to Iowa before he did. And I told him, I was like, "Hey, I think I'm gonna commit to Iowa." And he's like, "I don't know, man. Maybe you should wait and like go on your official visits and like go see some places." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know, maybe." And then I committed because I, knew that's where I wanted to be. Um,
Mhm.
so I had committed to Iowa before Kemmer, but then he was here a year before me. Um, but I actually after I committed, I was like pushing him to commit to Iowa. So I don't think I was the main factor to get him to come here, but
Yes,
I
you
don't
were.
think me
Yes, you were.
I don't think it hurt.
Right. Yeah, no, of course not. When you have a group of buddies that you train with, and all of a sudden you hear one and commits to a school, and it's like, well, you know, why wouldn't I want to go there as well? Like, so, um, What did you take into consideration any part of like the academics at Iowa and what you wanted to do after wrestling, or was it just kind of solely a wrestling decision?
I was making my college decision solely on wrestling.
Okay, yeah, no shame in that. No shame. I just, you know, with some of these schools, the what they offer you academically is so different, and sure, wrestling is obviously important, but you also need to maybe like the classes that you're attending too, I would think. So
Yeah,
I was
and
just
and I agree with
curious.
that. Heck, I've been in school at Iowa longer than I was on the Iowa wrestling team, and I was on the wrestling team for 6 years. Um, so yeah, I agree. Iowa beyond athletics, Iowa's a great university. I love the program that I'm in now and have gone through for the last few years in grad school, and I liked my undergrad program as well. Um, so I think Iowa's a great university for. Iowa's got really strong programs, nursing, um, water resources engineering, um, Carver
Mhm.
College of Medicine. Iowa's got the writing program. Iowa's got some really high quality, programs. So I think Iowa's a great school academically. But I wasn't choosing my university based on academics alone. I had so Brad Pataki was from my area and he coached at Army when I was getting recruited. And I had talked to Brad, and I had actually worked out with Brad a couple times throughout high school because he's from Clearfield. So they're in our district, and I had worked out with Brad a couple times over like Christmas breaks throughout high school. And that was the only school I had considered, like, oh, it'd be pretty cool to be like an officer after you graduate.
Yeah,
But that was the only school that I had thought about as far beyond wrestling.
gotcha. Yeah, I guess the reason I asked about the academics was because, like you said, you've been in school for 9 years, so I didn't know if like that played a role a little bit. I mean, you've been at Iowa, like you said, you're on the team for 6, you've been at the school for 9, so that's just a long time there. So, um, yeah, I just didn't know if that played a role at all, or if you thought about that or anything.
I thought about it more while I was in college, I think. All
There
right,
you
now
go.
what am
Okay.
I gonna do with my life?
When did you finally ask yourself that question? Because I know we kind of laugh at it, but it's also kind of an important question to ask, um, because it can kind of get lost, like wrestling isn't going to last forever as much as we like to think it will. Um, there is life after wrestling, and what you want to do is kind of an important question to ask yourself.
Probably when I was deciding on, like grad school, like I had finished human physiology undergrad, and like I knew that I had another year, so I was kind of, what do I think that I want to do? And like I love going to national parks and going hiking and
Yeah.
camping. I like the outdoors, something that I'm passionate about. So um civil and environmental engineering seemed like the most outdoor themed thing I could get, and then I kind of then I ended up liking it a lot more than I like thought I would maybe.
Yeah. Did you decide? So you had the extra year. Did you know you were going to like continue on schooling that much longer? Because I mean, you've been done with wrestling for 3 years.
Yeah, I just thought
I
I
mean,
was
at
going to do a
least at
math.
Iowa anyway. At least at Iowa
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
I should say.
I was, didn't know if I was going to wrestle after college. Um, just figured I'd probably do a master's degree and get a job, or
Right.
I didn't think that much about it, honestly. I just kind of going with the flow.
I love it. You're just going with the flow and you ended up with a PhD. I mean, hey.
Yeah, when the time came to make decisions on stuff, like I thought about it more, but like I've never had like an existential crisis yet anyway about, what I'm gonna do with my life. So
That's good. That's good. Um, yeah, so you get to Iowa, and you have a good redshirt year. How prepared did you feel when you were in Iowa that you were ready to compete at that level?
Um, there's definitely a transition phase coming into college. College guys are pretty good at riding. Being from Pennsylvania, I felt like I was like, pretty decent at riding coming into college, but there's like an extra level of effort where, you know, being able to mat return and to kind of take it out of guys on top. That's like a step up above high school. Um, just and like hand fighting, I think just being able to stay in matches and guys in high school, I feel like they don't wrestle that hard. So you didn't have to like push your body. It's kind of just like, shoot and counter. And then where in college, it's like you're the best guys can, wrestle hard the whole 7 minutes. So, you know, being able to stay in there the whole match and then, not have let ups where then you're getting scored on. So I think, having high level partners in high school prepared me, but then there's a transition phase where you gotta step up your game or else you're gonna get your butt kicked.
Was there a time, do you remember, where you kind of started to figure it out, where you felt like, all right, I'm starting to understand this college wrestling thing? Because like you said, that can be a transition period. It can be kind of tough, man, for some people. Like they get into college, they used to be the big man on campus, and now they're not getting a takedown for 2 months, you know?
Yeah, I think, especially coming in Iowa's room, I had some guys older guys when I got in the room that I worked out with that were really good, Sorensen and Sam Brooks and Alex Meyer, even like Mike Evans was in the club when I got to college. So there
Oof.
were Kemmer was here, there were guys that were really good. And part of it too is, if you're staying in the workout and you're working on your skills and you're not just giving in against, if you're putting up a fight against Sam Brooks, you go to some opens your freshman year, you're not going to wrestle Sam Brooks at the opens. There aren't guys that wrestle like him. So, I mean, that even gave me confidence throughout my college career because I was practicing with Kemmer and Marinelli all the time, and Pat Lugo. Uh, I was wrestling the best guys in the country in the room every day. So, that gives you confidence going out to compete because you might wrestle guys that are up to their caliber, but not very many people.
Yeah, true that. I'll say like your redshirt freshman year, it was kind of a little bit of ups and downs. You didn't probably quite have the success that you wanted to. Was there ever some times maybe in college then that you were wondering like, gosh, what am I doing wrong? I'm getting beat up. I'm not seeing the results on the mat, even though I'm competing with those guys in the room. And did you feel deflated at times or spiral or have any negative thoughts creep in after, because I think you were what, 9-7?
My redshirt freshman year,
Yeah.
I don't know what I. Um, yeah, I think that struggling with confidence and throughout high or college, I had a couple times, I definitely, especially later on in my college career, where there were times where, you know, I had some results that didn't, necessarily reflect my ability on the mat, and that's hard to, you know, deal with where, sometimes what am I doing wrong here? Am I, what do I need to change where I can get back to the, good results that I was having before? So, I think just, our coaches preach to us, control what you can control. So, I can control my attitude and I can control my fight in the practice room and I can control my fight in the, on the competition mat. So, just reminding yourself that you got to control what you can control and, um, you know, not letting the negative thoughts creep in. So, Terry, like John Strittmatter in high school, Terry's kind of like a mindset coach, and a lot of repetitions there where you're focusing on the things that you do and the things that you do well, and you're not letting the negativity creep in. And it does, but that's where you gotta, that's why, you practice your mindset stuff just the same way you practice a high crotch. So
Hmm. Never heard that before. I mean, I may have, but it just, I don't know, for some reason that just stuck to me was you practice your mindset the same way you would a high crotch. Like that's good stuff right there. I think sometimes we forget about that, or we like, oh man, do I really need to tell myself that I'm, good, or that, I'm going to win a national title or whatever? Like, yeah, yes, like that stuff helps. And if you tell yourself and if you're positive with yourself every day, just like you do high crotch, like you'll start to believe it, and success can inherently come that way. So that's just good stuff.
yeah, I've had a lot of good coaches beyond just wrestling skills, and mindset is a wrestling skill. So beyond just wrestling moves.
Right, right. Yes, yes. It's such a huge part, competition anxiety. Like I played multiple sports in high school and I was never as nervous as I was before I stepped on a wrestling mat. Um, I played baseball, and when I would go up and I would hit, I wouldn't think anything of it, you know. If I struck out, whatever. But if I lost a wrestling match, like, it would just it would spiral, at least for me personally. So I'm just saying, like, for whatever reason, wrestling is it can be so mentally draining, more than any other sport that I participated in personally.
Yeah, I mean, same. I mean, I played football and soccer, and I never felt, you know, competition anxiety in team sports. But going out to wrestle, there's a level of, nerves that I didn't feel, going to play football. Because
Yeah,
wrestling, I mean, it's one on one, and also like if you're bad at baseball, it doesn't involve getting your butt kicked.
true. Yeah. Or like football, you drop a pass or whatever, you miss a tackle. I still wouldn't feel as bad. Like for me, I like, like I said, if I struck out playing baseball, it kind of feel kind of silly. Nobody likes to strike out. You kind of feel like a little fool at times, but it I just kind of went about my day. But if I lost a wrestling match, like it could spiral. Like I said, it could just be bad. Mentally would just take a toll on me. So yeah. Anyway, that's what I have to say about that.
Yeah.
um, when did you decide, that moving down to 57 was the right move? Because I think your freshman year you were 65, 74 pounder, so there was even maybe some thought like, geez, you might go up. So what went behind the decision to go down? Like, was that a hard cut?
I mean, I was definitely cutting weight, but it wasn't, it was manageable. Um, kind of, doing it the right way and not just sucking out water weight. So it took a uh, concerted effort where I wasn't just, you know, I put a lot of thought and effort into it, and I wasn't just cutting weight willy nilly, but doing it with a focus on performance. So it was definitely manageable. You know, Kemmer was at 57. I had wrestled Marinelli at an open at 65 our freshman year. And then, I thought, might as well try wrestling 74 because those guys are there. I'll go up to 74. They had better results than me the previous year. In 74, that was a different kind of effort because I had to put a lot of thought and time into trying to put weight on, and there were times when I was wrestling 74 where I would get to practice and Tom would tell me to get on the scale and I would weigh like 173 coming into practice and he would tell me to go eat and I wouldn't even practice. I would go with Dan Dennis out to eat or something. So
really,
that was a different kind of effort where there were times where I would have to like get up to 80. I'd be trying to weigh like 82 going to bed and, I didn't feel very good weighing 182 because it felt pretty full and bloated, but just different kind of effort, putting on weight and trying to put on muscle and it's not bad weight either. You want to try to put on muscle and, give yourself the best opportunity to compete at a high level. And, my redshirt freshman year, it didn't go the way I wanted it to go. I lost the wrestle off before the Big Tens. And then, that was probably the most down in the dumps. I don't know. I didn't enjoy going to the Big Ten and national tournament and not wrestling. So that was pretty, crappy spot. But, Kemmer was, he was cutting a lot of weight to make 57. And he decided pretty soon after the national tournament that he was going to wrestle 74 the next year. And I was having the same issue, but gaining weight. So I decided I'd, go down to 57.
Oh, so it actually kind of worked out,
Yeah.
that. So it wasn't an overly, egregious cut for you, even though you might have been growing a little bit still, like it wasn't anything that, wasn't overly manageable, really.
Yeah. I mean, I wrestled 60 my senior year of high school, so like 62 with the weight allowance. So I don't know if I grew much since then.
Okay. Was it difficult though to kind of reverse the effort you put into gaining weight? Like, did you have to be a little strategic about how you cut that weight off? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you were trying to gain weight. So you're
Yeah.
182. Now you have to basically take that weight off and more. Like, was that kind of difficult?
I mean, I did a lot of like the first year I wrestled 57, like preseason, I did a lot of like low not low heart rate, like aerobic exercise for like, I would go in at night and ride the Airdyne for like 45 minutes just to like, kind of cut the, have a calorie crunch where I'm burning more calories that I'm eating, kind of shrink my body down and get ready for the weight class.
Yeah.
But, they were just going into the season, just get my body shrunk down kind of and where it needs to be to hold a healthy weight where I'm not cutting huge amounts of weight every week was just, probably the most important thing. And then throughout the season, I was able to manage it pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Shrinking your body. That's just kind of funny the way, like, just even saying that out loud, like you were bulking your body and now like for the next year you were kind of actively shrinking it. It's just kind of wrestling, man, Um, so that sophomore year, that's when you kind of broke through and you really kind of put on display your talents, All-American year that year. Um, was that just a pretty awesome feeling then as well to showcase your abilities and be like, I can be the guy, essentially?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think I was just wrestling, pretty gritty. Um, not giving anything up easy, and I think that, you know, that showed, late in the season. So, um, yeah, that was a good year. I kind of, showed to myself that I do belong, at wrestling the best guys, and um, it was good confidence builder.
Yeah, I think it was also good, just like, you know, I think it just showcased like when you have a Spencer Lee, Michael Kemmer, Alex Marinelli, like you have all these hammers on the team. There's always got to be somebody like I look back at old Iowa teams, and the one guy I always like to talk about is Phil Keddy. He wasn't like the Brent Metcalf or the Jay Borschel, the hammers that are just elite. But freaking Phil Keddy was damn good, and that's how I kind of like everyone needs those guys on the team. Like you may have a Spencer Lee, but you need Kaleb Youngs. Like they're just as important. The guys who are just tough, gritty, and they're gonna go out there, take care of business, and go home.
Yeah, and I had guys around me, the Spencer and Austin and Kemmer and Marinelli, where I was, you want to like compete with your teammates where, if you're trying to outperform your teammates and then, it pushes each other to the next level. So, I mean, I think that's good, friendly competition.
Did you have friendly competitions between you guys?
No, not really, but I mean,
Oh,
it's
okay.
just like, like, if they're getting tech falls and major decisions, then, I want to get tech falls and major decisions. We can really, run the team score up.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the best takedowns, maybe not the best, one of just the craziest takedowns I recall seeing in the last however many years was when you took down Steve Blease of Minnesota in overtime. Have you watched that takedown? Like, have you ever gone back and watched how you basically threw him? And like you had like one hand on the mat and you like pirouetted onto one foot and like tossed him on his back. Like, have you watched that? It's
Yeah, I've seen
insane.
it.
It is
I've seen
insane.
it.
The
Yeah,
bat,
I
like
mean,
just the balance, and I don't know how you did it, honestly. And when I watch it, I'm like, what the hell, man? Like it's crazy. It's just crazy. It's awesome.
yeah, I think, you're wrestling good guys all the time in the room and, put yourself in positions where, maybe you're not in the best spot and you got to learn how to wrestle out of it. And, I wasn't in a very good position. So sometimes you got to let it fly and, it worked.
It did. It did. It did. As you look back on your career, do you look back on it fondly? Two-time All-American. Maybe not the ultimate goal of a national champ that you were gunning for, but still a very respectable career, something that you can be proud of. Do you think about it much? Look back on it much, or you just moved
Yeah.
on?
I mean, honestly, you know, my sophomore year was the highest I ever placed in the national tournament. So, I mean, it's kind of like I don't know, a little bit of a letdown because you want to build from there, but there were things whether confidence issues or injuries where there's things that you got to get over, and I didn't have the results I wanted to the rest of my career, and even as a sophomore, I wasn't going to nationals to take fifth place, but um, so. I didn't get like the results that I wanted to in college, but now working with guys on the team, there's some satisfaction, seeing other guys, have success. Buchanan this past weekend, um, you know, I work out with Caliendo all the time, seeing some guys have good success, where there's satisfaction in that and where I can help them take their wrestling to the next level. So
Hmm. How sweet was it rewarding, whatever word you want to use, to see Max Mirren become an All-American, because he had been so close so many years, he had been right there and he just couldn't quite get over that hump. So, I mean, was that pretty freaking satisfying to see one of the guys that you grew up with and trained with at Young Guns to finally get over the hump?
Yeah, for sure. Max is my boy, so I was pumped to see him finally All-American.
Yeah.
I've witnessed Max. I've witnessed him at some of his lowest points, I think, in college wrestling. So finally seeing him be able to have that breakthrough, is awesome.
Yeah. I know me, my family, my brother, like we were, there are certain times at tournaments or like at the NCAA tournament where we're like, gosh, I just hope I know he wants to win a national title, but I just hope he gets it done and becomes an All-American. Like there are people we pick out kind of every year where we look at and go, I just want it for him. Like he's been so close. He's, not saying everybody hasn't put in the time and effort and energy to be an All-American, whatever, but there are just certain people that kind of tug at your heartstrings a little bit. Like, and Max was one of those guys where we wanted it so bad for him,
Yeah, for sure.
Before I let you go here, I wanted to talk to you about a couple other things. One is so you're from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, which is obviously a big deal, because it's Groundhog's Day. Like, what is that day like in your hometown?
It's a pretty big deal. I mean, we got school off every year for Groundhog Day. 40,000 people or something come to Punxsy for.
Jeez, really?
Yeah, and that's a lot for a town that only has 5,000 people. So you're getting a lot of people coming into town. I think it means a lot to a lot of people. It probably means more now to me now than it did when I was living there, because it was just growing up. It was just whatever, something that happened every year. But now it's kind of like, yeah, that's where I'm from. But yeah, I think it's important to my town. Something to get up for every year.
Do you know like the history? Like, why is it such a big deal there? Like, what made Punxsutawney like the Groundhog Day place to be, or token Groundhog Day place? Like, what? Do you have any idea?
I mean, it's been going on since like 1886, I think, in Punxsy. So it's like German tradition. So Western Pennsylvania's got a lot of German people. They decided that they're going to bring their tradition to Punxsy. I don't know. Bill Murray made a movie about it. Kind of.
Yep.
Think the movie probably took it to a whole new level. So
Cool. When you were out walking, or when you still are out walking, in Iowa City, and what is the bigger talking point? Is it, I'm Kaleb Young, All-American wrestler for Iowa, or I'm Kaleb Young, I'm from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, where, and I know Punxsutawney Phil. Like, is one get more of a reaction than the other?
I would say if I was recognized in downtown Iowa City, it would probably be for wrestling rather than being from Punxsutawney.
Okay.
But there are some.
Go ahead.
I mean, there are a couple people here that go, "Hey, aren't you the Groundhog Boy?" I'm just kidding.
Oh, they don't say that?
That's
Oh,
never
man,
happened.
Dang it, that would be funny. I believed you, because has anyone ever said that to you?
No.
No. Okay. Dang. Okay. I wondered if it would be kind of a talking point though, like, hey, yeah, I'm from Punxsutawney, the groundhog, and people are like, oh man, that's so cool, and they don't really care that you're the wrestler.
I'll bring it up on Groundhog Day if I'm talking to someone, or if someone knows, I'll like make a joke about it, but I don't talk about it that much.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about real quick was, So you're married, okay, but not just to anybody. You're married to Tom Brands' daughter. Um, how did that kind of come about, and how did that conversation kind of go over? I'm sure you probably get asked this, but I'm just for my own curiosity, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Madigan and I, we lived in the same dorm building freshman year. Um, we rode with the Marinellis to church every weekend. So, we were around one another. Um, we hit it off, and I don't think Tom was pretty chill about it. At first he was kind of like, Young, you talking to my daughter or what's going on here? But yeah, I mean, Tom's about as chill as a father-in-law as I could probably ask for. So, I mean, there wasn't any tension or anything ever.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was going to ask him to marry her, so I said, it was like in the room, I said, hey, Tom, can we talk sometime? He goes, yeah, man, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I was like riding the air diner or something, warming up for practice, and he came up behind me. He goes, you're not trying to leave my team, are you? Because he thought I wanted to talk to him about transferring, but nah, I was just going to ask him to marry Madigan. So,
Sorry, that's just a complete 180. Like, you want it? Are you going to transfer? No, whoa, no. I just want to marry your daughter. Like that. Kind of the exact opposite.
it was the opposite. I wasn't trying to leave his team. I was trying to get more on his team.
Yeah, true. So yeah, so there was never, um, how was it difficult to sort of keep that a little separate? Like your relationship with your girlfriend now wife and also the coach of your team. Like, was that? I know it sound maybe I'm making a bigger deal than it is, I guess, or maybe other like when people hear it, they make a bigger deal. Like it was just you're dating a girl, like.
Yeah, I don't think he treated me any different. So it wasn't hard to keep it separate. He'd still let me know exactly how he felt about my wrestling, regardless if I was dating his daughter or not.
Yeah, yeah. Um, was there ever a slight intimidation at all? Like, did you ever feel intimidated at any point?
I think I probably struggled to talk to him one on one sometimes early on, but not so much anymore, I don't think.
Yeah. All right. The last question I have for you is um, you're also expecting, you and your wife are expecting. So congratulations. That's awesome. I didn't know if you had an idea of what Tom's like grandpa name was gonna be. Like, is he gonna be like Papa Tom? Is he gonna be like just Grandpa? Um, anything like that, have you talked to him or decided much about that?
I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Probably just Grandpa Tom.
Yeah. Um,
He's
and then
no
go ahead.
shenanigans kind of guy.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Has he ever been able to have a little bit of shenanigans though? Like it just makes me think of like Bill Belichick. Okay, he's like a no shenanigans type guy. But there was one time where they had like a little Halloween party when he was with the Patriots, and like that was kind of fun to see Bill Belichick kind of come out of his shell. Has Tom ever done that, or have you ever been able to kind of get Tom to show a little bit of just a lighter side, if you will?
Yeah, I'll clarify. So I get, yeah, Tom does, he does like keeping it light. I was just meant with like his name. Like, I don't think he'd like being called like, I don't know, PP or something weird that, kids come up with for their grandparents. So it's not that he's no shenanigans, but I
Mhm.
think that because he definitely is good at keeping it light outside of the room and making jokes. I mean, I think anybody on the team would agree with that, but I just think he wouldn't. I would think it's funnier than he would if my kid was calling him some weird grandpa name.
What does he do outside of the room that kind of makes it light? I guess like everyone kind of sees him on the side of the mat in the corner, and he's always so serious, and he's like, we see the intense Tom Brands. Like, what does he do outside of that people don't see that sort of makes him look maybe more, like just a relaxed human being, essentially?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. During summer, sometimes we like go chop wood and mow trails and go get cheeseburgers afterward. We'll get guys on the team to go out and do some workout in the woods and good time. I don't know, bunch of things, crack jokes and you know some whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go
So out of the
explore.
limelight, he can just be just a normal run of the mill guy, you know. It's just that when we see him, and even in like some press conferences, he just we don't get to see that side of him, very often or at all, really. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know Tom takes wrestling stuff serious and also likes keeping people on their toes. So
yeah, yeah. Last question I have for you, I guess. What's next for you, Caleb? You're graduating in July, um, at the latest, July 22nd. What what's next?
starting looking for jobs and gonna get a job and go wherever that takes us. Got a kid coming at the end of May. Gotta get a job, so my life's gonna be a lot different a year from now than it is now, probably.
Yeah, any idea, like, are you just throwing a dart and going wherever that dart goes, or do you have a plan of, gosh, it'd be nice to kind of live here? Not trying to like get out of any secrets, but I'm just like, have any idea where you want to get, where you want to go, where you want to live, what you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, probably looking at, engineering consulting firms that do, like water resources work. Um, you know, there's a lot of water related issues out west, so maybe move out west or stay in Iowa. We'll see what opportunities arise.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Special thanks to my guest, Kaleb Young, for taking the time to sit down and chat with me. Cover art created and designed by Kristen Gill. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also check me out on Twitter, Instagram, and my Facebook page to hear more of my content. And don't forget, you can always check out my website at letstalkwrestlingpodcast.my.canva.site. And, as always, be sure to tune in to hear the next guest of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Take care. See you next time.